It's Friday. Hey, top of the morning to you. Michael here. Woo-hoo-hoo. Wow. Grandkids call me Roo. Hey, listen, I know it's Friday morning at 8:57, but I've been up for a long time, and I just had everything set up because I received an early morning email call or a voice call that said, and I went, oh no, it's my friend Cyril. Have I forgotten something? Because I'm working with him on this big project. He said, I forgot to send you the link to our Zoom call this morning. You're supposed to be on our Zoom call. And I go, tell me I'm not leading the Zoom call. He goes, no, just join. So I said, send me the link. So he sends me the link and I start jumping in. And then for the next 30 minutes, I was bombarded with questions. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what am I thinking here this morning? So I thought everything's set up. I just punch the button and just go live. So he goes, you're always in a white shirt. And I go, you know the story. So good morning to you. Thanks for piling on Friday morning. Some of you who have time to jump in. I have been fascinated by this little book that I sent out on Patreon yesterday. I came home and I was having a bite of lunch from a meeting I was a part of. And in the process, I bumped into this little painting in this magazine. And it made me want to paint almost like the islands that I painted when I was in Maine. And I just got all excited about it because I do so little landscape. And so I've just been on the rampage with this little landscape painting here that is just kind of just wet on a small piece of paper, not knowing where it's going. So thanks for jumping on this morning, all you folks. Stephen, welcome to you. Talked to you yesterday. May see you later today. I'm still here this morning. Got crazy morning, but love to drop by and I'll pass something on to you. Just send me a note before you head this way. I'll make sure I'm here. Joan Carey, good morning. Linda Schleitning and Rander Taylor Craven and Carol Todd Mundy and Cindy Wiltermood. Cindy, keeping us moving with all your paintings. You are a prolific artist. Jackie Wallace, they should be on the show. Heather Kuhlman, Sally Ann Smith, Beverly Schmidt, Greenville, I think. Dorothy Beasley, Chris Whitaker, Jennifer Thistle, Lori Stanley, Handelmeyer Henderson, Chris Young. Chris, I don't remember saying your name too many times. I know it's on here, but welcome to the show again this morning. Lynn Swain Brown, Joanne Rivas Anderson. There you go, cock-a-doodle-doo. I think that's how the rooster says good morning, but then roosters grow over 15 minutes, so who knows. So no worry. Listen, my camera looks like it's a little out of focus, so I'm going to try and focus this right here. 1 second. Hold on. Just have to jump up and hit this little button and see if it'll focus. That's a little better. Yeah, that's a little better. I had a busy day yesterday, and gosh, wait, I've had a busy month so far. You know, it's always fun when you sort of get pulled into a project that you think, well, I'll go see what happens. And then like this Zoom call this morning, and they said, hey, could you tell us what you think about this schedule? And they threw the schedule up, and I went, do they really want me to say what I think about that schedule? And so I did. And then that opened up a box. Everybody has one opinion. The Hahn family has 5. That doesn't mean that we're right. But it's always fun to get involved in some things that are bigger than you are. And this is one of those things. There's a project. And this is the project that has to do with the prison up in Salisbury, North Carolina. There's a prison up there that a friend of mine has purchased, and he's going to turn it into a trade school for the children of the incarcerated parents to help them change their lives around so that they never go to prison. His whole goal was he woke up one morning and felt like he was being asked to keep a million children out of prison. And so that's what's gotten me busy. It was some consulting work here of trying to figure out what is going on and who are these people and how can I help them. And so it's kind of fun. But I came back home, I was having a little lunch, and I was reading through a magazine on Charlotte. I put this out on Patreon yesterday because I wanted the Patreon folks to start working on some small paintings. What am I always saying about little? There's always room for a little painting somewhere. So I'm just going to be on for a few minutes this morning, just to sip my cup of tea and then challenge you and say thank you. The big thing was I thought of this while I was Zooming to these people, and I gave them my ideas. I said, if you do this, 3 things, just this, boom. And so a couple of the folks said, thank you. Thank you for mentioning that to us, because we're in the process. We're so deep in our brains trying to figure out this that we sometimes look over the simplest thing. I'm going to repeat that. Sometimes we're so far into the process of, oh no, if I do that, if I don't do this, and if somebody could do this, or if I could learn to do this, instead of just doing boom, 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 pick up a brush, pick up a little paint, pick up a cup of tea, just go sit down with some paper and just change it. So I came home, had a little lunch. Carol was out seeing the grandkids and dropping some things off, and I thought I'll sit down here before my next meeting. And I turned in this Charlotte magazine. It's just a little Charlotte publication that really, it's not really as much about magazine as it is about local people just advertising. But there's some great stories, some good stories every now and then. And then I get to the back. I'm just flipping through. It's kind of fun to see who you know, what were they asking them. And there's chefs, and there's this picture of a bear, which I love, Grandfather Mountain. It's a beautiful place if you hadn't been on Grandfather Mountain. I shot a Lexus commercial on Grandfather Mountain way back in the late 90s. Is that right? Oh my gosh, no, the late 80s when the first Lexus came out. Shot those on Grandfather Mountain. And so then I turned to this page right here, and I saw Burnsville. Caught my eye. This caught my eye first. This little landscape. Look at it. Now, it's not, it looks more Charleston-esque than Burnsville Mountains, but I didn't care at the time because I thought, look at this piece of watercolor. Here's my little watercolor palette, one of them. Look, hides the whole thing. That's how big it is. And so I'm thinking, I don't even know if this was painted much larger, probably this, and they shot it down, but I like painting it small. And so what I thought I might do, so that's what I started on here while I was just kind of having some fun, is just I wanted to paint it. So yesterday I sat down and I painted it. What did I do with it? That's a good question. I may have left it downstairs. I think I did. No biggie. We'll just repaint it. So I painted that yesterday while I was having my lunch. And so then I looked over here and I went, oh, and I missed this one. I didn't even see these little glasses here. That's what I showed the folks on Patreon yesterday. And then here's a little lady standing in front of a cart. Looks like maybe an ice cream cart. And then there's a campfire here with a little fire in a tent on a little grassy knoll. Here's a palm tree if they go into Naples, Florida. So they're saying, you know, it's time to travel a little bit, and a crane. Anyway, I just wanted to inspire you to say it could be as simple as 1, 2, 3. Just sit down with a cup of tea, a little idea, a small piece of paper, and paint something small and see it grow into something large. Now, some of you can turn this landscape into something beautiful. And some of you don't need small art because you're so naturally talented and gifted. So that's one of the things I wanted to say is that don't forget every day that it just takes a few minutes to make a cup of tea. And while you're doing that, you can find something in a magazine, an art magazine. By the way, wherever I go, I pick up magazines. And some of them I pick up that are free. They don't even cost me anything because they're done for marketing people and advertising folks. And here's one on arts and art products. It's just fascinating. And here's one that was given to me because it's expensive. It's about, it's $9 if I had to subscribe to the magazine, but it's Watercolor Magazine. And it's just always, it makes me, okay, got to read these magazines very carefully. One is you start thinking, I'll never be this good, so I might as well stop now. Don't read it that way. The other one is say, look what someone has done. Wow, I love their gift. Now, how does that inspire you to change what it is you do? Look, I don't need to paint this. Somebody's already painted it. If that inspires me, then I may say, wow, I need to learn how to paint shades of people better, or this walk at the ocean on the coast, or these flowers. Some of you are doing that beautifully. This is a whole section on negative painting, not as in, I don't want to paint, but filling in the negative spaces. And look, what I learned about this is I've done 2 of these paintings, and the process is more than my brain can handle because my phone rings, the Zoom calls come, I have to run off to a consulting process. So I do the style of art that I love for me. Yesterday at dinner, Carol and I were outside at a little cafe. She'd been out all day and I'd been out all day, and we go like, we're not cooking, let's just go. And it's a place that knows me, and the owner comes out and bumps me, and he says, hey, did you see we put 2 of your paintings on the front desk? And I went, yeah, I feel kind of strange, but thank you. And he says, no, a lot of people know you, so it gets attention. And I'm going like, oh, okay, I'm grateful. But I wind up painting little paintings for the waiters and the waitresses and to the wait staff. And so it's always fun to do that. So I keep up with magazines. So while I'm having lunch, sometimes if I have to have lunch with myself and I'm not having a meeting over some bowl of bisques somewhere, I'll go through a magazine like this and I'll just flip through and I'll see something and look at this duck. Okay, could I paint this? No. Maybe. If I sat down and said 2 hours later, I've got it. But my point is, it's not my style, so I don't feel bad about it, but I celebrate these people and I look at this. And here's one that says Artist Toolkit. Look at this. Look at this. These are just quick journal sketches. Look at the watercolor. I can't wait and you know what this says? What do we talk about all the time? Always having a sketchbook with you somewhere. The lost art of the sketchbook. Really? Someone wrote an article in it. We could have written it right here. They've ripped the pages out and they're just following people in the subway, on the train. Here's one in the garden, an ear corn. So I just want to inspire you by finding little places to go and say, gosh, I don't know what I'm going to paint today. Just go sit down to an old magazine rack somewhere and take a list and say, ooh, I like that picture. Snap a couple with your phone if you have a camera phone. If you don't have a camera phone today, you're missing on one of the greatest phones ever, right? So Michelle, I'm just going to put you on the spot. My dear friend Michelle, watch this. I'm going to see if her comment shows up. Right here it is. Michelle says, I needed to hear that. I haven't painted in a month or so. I'm in a slump. Okay. Michelle, your sense of humor and your wit and your heart is enough to keep you out of the slump, but I get it. So for me, I find something small and I find something that connects me. And this connected me to the mountains of Burnsville. In fact, I think you and your husband like going to the mountains. And so just go back and grab one of those little photos and just sketch something off and do it in just a few minutes. Don't do it for something that you think, oh, if I'm not satisfied with this, I'm going to be so down on myself. Stop doing that, okay? The thing that I talk about in my Patreon group all the time is you constantly have to think like an artist. That is so powerful in this game of art, thinking like an artist. You go, I could do that. Then you go, well, why would I do that? That's not my style. So I'd rather do this. So about 5 more minutes here, and then I'm going to see if I can bring a little painting to life just for fun here. All right, I'm going to just turn it on the page because sometimes I like to look at that. So here's what I'm sort of modeling. See this? This really isn't Burnsville at all. You never see a road that flat in Burnsville. I've been there. Been to a ramp festival in Burnsville. You know what a ramp is? A ramp is a A ramp is this wild onion that is just nasty. It gets in your pores and seeps out, and it is just but people who like scrambled eggs and ramps are, and so they have these festivals where these men go out in the mountains. It's the wild onion is what it really is in real life. I'm just telling you, it's just crazy. And it is powerful. It's more powerful than garlic. You eat ramp, and 5 days later, you'll still be smelling like garlic or ramp. It's more powerful than garlic. So here's what I'm doing. I'm just sort of putting some water on this little piece of paper here. I have a piece of 140-pound white stock, probably Kilimanjaro. Could be Canson. I have some Canson pages here that I carry in my little journal when I don't want to cut up my... and I'm just putting this on there. You can't even see it. It's like, what is he doing? But you're going to see it in just a second, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some green paint, and I'm going to go after some spring green. A little spring green right here. It is. It's springtime, and I'm just going to touch it right here. Watch, boom, and let it drop in here. There it comes right there. And this hillside back over there like that. So I'll just let some of that spring green jump in right there. A little bitty painting. And then what I think I'll do is come in with just, I'm gonna go ahead and build a little superstructure here. I'm gonna get a little bit of darker green. This is probably a little bit of, probably a mixture for me. It looks black almost, but it's green. It's gray green. I'll have to figure out what color that is. I'm not even sure. I just know it's up there in my green pile. Look, all this is my green pile right here. This is a gold green. This is a olive green. There's a little touch of spring green. There's some, just find whatever you love and put it in there. Nobody's going to say, oh, you used the wrong kind of green. If they do, then say, hey, next time I invite people out for coffee, don't show up. I'm just kidding. I'm just being kind of goofy. Let me grab a pen here. What am I going to grab? This is a number 2. Do I have a number 3? No, I'll use this pen. All right. So now I'm just going to put some, I'm going to put some pen marks in there to show the limbs and the trunks of those trees. See, that just happened. Look what happened there. See, got one coming off this way. There's one coming down there. I'm going to tie those back in just a second. This thing right here is happening. A couple lone pines that are hanging out in there. This is why it's not Burnsville, because it's not a pine tree you see in Burnsville. I know my trees, and trees grow in zones, and so you can always tell what's where. I'm just using my pen here in this wet paper to create some small little images across the page, just little lines. You see those? That one's taller. This one's coming up a little bit. And so does it have to look exactly like theirs? Heck no. Why would I want it to do that? I'm just doing a facsimile of that. Now I'm going to put a little bit of just a road out here, and I'm going to cover that in. I just wanted some, I'm painting with a number 3, American Journey brush, just interlock nylon, nothing fancy, just a nice little brush. There's some really verdant green right in there. I don't think that's the color, but it is pretty verdant. I lived in Ponte Vedra for a while, so you got to keep up with your greens. There's a lot of, this dark green is going to be good right here coming over the edge. So I'm just trying to make something. And by the way, here, there's the magazine right here. Throw that over there. I'm done with that now. I gave me the idea. Now I just wanted to make it what my mind remembers. Notice what I just did there? I'm not trying to make it look exactly like that person who painted that one for that magazine. More power to that artist. And I'm not trying to make it necessarily a ripoff and say, hey, look what I painted. I'm just saying I liked his style or her style. I should go back and give them credit. I couldn't find it yesterday. I went looking for who painted it, and I couldn't find their names. And I'm thinking, well, that's kind of rude of the magazine to publish that without a name. So I don't have one to look at, except I'm just thinking, what did I see there, and there weren't any blue in this. It was just all greens and whites. And this had a little roll to it, like it was back in the background, way back there. A little touch of this right here. A little shadow here. I don't like those 2 trees. I think I'm going to have to add one more. if I could find my, here's a pen right here. Let's add that other one right. Let's add it right here on this side. I don't know if it had one like that over there or not, but I'm going to put this one here. And just a little, you see me do trees like this lots of times. I'm using the fountain pen here, but I'm going to go back and grab my Pentel 07 because I like the way it bleeds inside this water. So suddenly I'm getting this little landscape that you can see through the trees a little bit. You notice that there's something on the other side over here, and it's probably the backside of this road or whatever, but I kind of like the fact that I left that open there. That's a little more holidays than I think that person had in theirs, but it doesn't matter, remember? It just doesn't matter. I do like what happens with the Pentel pens on water that's still wet on the paper, a little wet on wet, but not your normal wet on wet. We're always thinking wet paint, wet water, wet paper, wet paint. Always introducing some ink into that will give you a little bit of a shadow contrast black that a lot of people never discover. And I'll just tell you, I'm no genius, as my friend says. You're a genius. And I go, no, I don't think you're spelling the word right. But what I am is I'm a guy who's not afraid to take chances. Did you hear that? I'm a guy who's not afraid to take chances. Except when it comes to tea. I like my tea to taste like I want my tea to taste. All right, so here we go. There's another little tree trunk coming down there. Just let that tail off. Could come in here with that little brush again, if I could find my little brush again. I laced so much stuff down here. One would think that I would someday clean this up, but then one wouldn't think correctly. A little more spring green right here. Notice how some yellow popped out there when I put that pen in there? Is that cool? I wasn't even counting on that. It just happened. I think I'm done. I'm going to quit while I'm ahead. If I wanted to do anything, I'd come, he says, I'm going to quit while I'm ahead. If I wanted to do something else, I'd get a little green gold and I'd probably push it back underneath here to just get a little shadows or shades here and maybe a little bit of this solid green right on the front here, just like so. And then maybe a line to come down and just make it off-centered. There we go. So there's my little landscape. Now I'm beginning to see a little less Charleston because of the ground has some roll to it and a little more of my North Carolina roots coming in here. No pun intended. My North Carolina roots, both either on my hair or it was interesting for me to jump on the line this morning. These people have never seen me before, so they're expecting some guy in a suit and a tie. They zoomed me in. They were in all over the United States. The lady who was in charge of the outline was in Houston. This is all this project I'm working on. And so I jump on and my hair is going like, whoa! I'm going like, hey. And so they're all looking at the leader who contacted me thinking, of all the people in the world, you found this guy? Hey, spring is sprung. Green is a great color. Green is a great color. You know, just look outside. God must have loved it, right? Skip Green and Skip, by the way, is a person. So when Trader Joe's when Cheap Joe names his paint, you can pretty well count that he's always named it after someone. Andrew's turquoise is what I call Terry Tardy's turquoise. It was named after Don Andrews. Yeah, so you're thinking, oh my gosh. All of these little colors have a reason because Joe is a storyteller and he loves the fact that he's kept up with these people and they've kept up with him over the years and they use his products. And so it's really fun. I got fired up yesterday. I was setting up some things in a little office off to the side where I've got to meet for some consulting work. And I just changed the wall around and put up some big push pins and a storyboard wall for these young people that I'm meeting with to come in and say, get out of your computer, get out of your phone and look up and see these things on cards we can move around. And so even behind me in my office, I have this large board that I don't use whiteboards because, well, they're too messy. Because I write something and my hand smears on them. Then I think, oh, that's a better idea. So I have to erase the whole thing. So I never get anything done. I'm moving the same paragraph all day. So now I put things on 3x5 cards like this, and then I just pin it and I change it around. And so I was putting all this in yesterday, and in the box that I picked up, I'd moved some boxes over there, a couple of books I needed. There was a Cheap Joe's catalog from 2021, and I went, oh, really? And I looked on the page, and there I was, and I went, oh my gosh, I love those guys, and I'm in their catalog, and there's some paintings there. If you haven't seen it, it's on one of their catalogs. It's kind of fun. You can go to Cheap Joe's and Google Roodoodles, and the story that made that happen is a story as much about you guys as it is me. And I'm going to get to that. And that's what I wanted to say to you this morning. I was meeting with these folks and thinking about ideas and what I get to do online. And it made me grateful for you. For those of you who show up and who listen to the banter and the stories and get challenged and then stay at it and either give that art away or sell that art if you can. Good for you. Pay for your supplies. And that's how this started that I'm doing. I just had to buy a new camera. Yes, I lost one. And so, that money comes in handy when you're doing a show like this because you think, wow, I've got a computer here that drives it. I've got a camera. I've got another camera. I've got a microphone that's hooked in so you can hear the sound better than just through the phone. What was that? And so all of that stuff is, you've been a major part of that in my life, and I wanted to say thank you. I'll look through these comments very fast here, and if I don't see any questions, I just see good morning comments. I'm just going to slide on through and say bye. I've got a full list to do today, but I was already all hooked up for a Zoom. Morning, y'all from Houston, Kelly Berger says. Joanne Rivas Anderson, hello. I think I said hello to you. Lisa Predecessor, thank you. Denise Albright, you're up early. Deborah Spangler. Thanks for letting me pick on you, Michelle. Michelle, you got a great art. You just keep painting at it. Renee King, Julie Walden. You could paint that room, maybe just part of it. I'm not sure where that was, but did I see a rooster? Oh, I see. Go to the mountains for your inspiration. That's good. Paula Lindy, thank you for being on the show. Thinking Like an Artist is huge. Sharon Frizz Neuben Moibus. Earth and Green. Thank you, Michelle. It was Earth and Green. See there? She loves green. Green gold is good for dandelions. Ramps. Ramps are similar to links, but much smaller and a bit stronger. You got it. Yeah, they will put a leak under the table if you have a ramp. Mountain ramps out of western North Carolina, pretty amazing. Okay. Love that you take the inspiration and make it personal to you. Denise, that's one of the most important things that is said here this morning, and it wasn't said by me, it was said by you. But that's how every story should be personalized. And by the way, I'm doing a whole seminar on storytelling for a group coming up soon. And one of the things about that is if this story doesn't connect to you, and you're just telling a story that you heard somewhere, if you're just doing a mind a bird thing, and if you're it's not going to connect. But if you know this story and you put you in the story, now, don't steal the story. We talk about that all the time. I can tell any story in the world. I can't tell it happened to me if it didn't happen to me, but I can say, I know this story, or I don't even have to say story. I'll just say, I know there was a time where a woman went to You got time? I'll tell you. I thought of this yesterday. No kidding. I actually made some notes. I wrote down the word Bosendorfer. Do you know what Bosendorfer is? The Bosendorfer is the concert grand Bosendorfer piano made in Vienna. It's 9 foot 6 inches long. It sells for about $275,000. I've only been in the room with 2 in my life. If they knew who I was, they wouldn't have let me in the room with those 2. But I don't play. But I was with a gentleman, and we were touring small colleges back in the 70s, and early 80s. He was phenomenal. So we showed up at this little university, and they had a Steinway in the concert hall. And so I walk out with my guitar and my banjo, and I'm clowning around, and he walks out, and does a pretend flip up of his tails and starts to sit down and play. And then he goes, wow. And the audience is just pulled to him because he's playing. He's playing a Steinway. And so we finish the show and we do our storytelling shtick and our music. And he says, well, the next night we have to be at this other college. And he said, there's no way they're going to have a piano like that one. Could we just load that up in your van and take it? And I'm thinking, that's funny because two guys like us stealing a Steinway that was worth about $70,000. And he said, for us to steal the Steinway would be something else, but I just don't think we could get it in the van without being arrested. So anyway, we show up at this next little university in the South, and we went to their music conservatory school where we were going to set up for the evening. And he walks in and he sees his piano and he looks down and he sees the legs coming under the cover. And we've already been told, do not touch the piano. Don't say that to two storytellers. And he looks at it and he goes, help me lift this cover. And I said, okay. We lift it over and it's a Bosendorfer. And it's a concert grand Bosendorfer. And this was in the early 80s. The piano then was going for about $103,000. And so he goes, I've played one of these in my life. And I said, I don't even know what it is. So that's where I made myself familiar with the Bosendorfer name and said, oh my gosh, these pianos made in Vienna are the Rolls Royce of all pianos, some would say. Yamaha does a beautiful piano that's even pushed toward that today in their concert grand. But this is a Bosendorfer. And so it reminded me of a tale of a woman who wants her son to be a pianist. And she says, if I can let him hear grandmasters play beautiful pianos in concert halls, I think the energy will seep into him. What a great concept and what a great way for a mom to think. And so she buys a ticket early on when the concert tickets comes out, and she takes him to hear one of the most beautiful players of the time. And the curtains go up and there it is. It's a Bosendorfer. And she knew a little bit about pianos, but she had no idea what she was looking at. But when you're 4 years old, the story goes, this little boy had never seen any piano that was bigger than just the little thing that he's been pounding on, So he wasn't sure what it was. And so he's wiggling in his chair and in his seat, and he's going through the whole thing. What's this have to do with art? I'll show you. She's saying, oh, he's probably going to play this song. You remember this? People around them are thinking, oh my gosh, we paid a fortune for these tickets. And here we are sitting next to a mom and a 4-year-old who she's going to hand him. Soon somebody's going to bring out the potato chips, and the gummy worms and all that stuff. And she had him a couple little things that were quiet snacks, which I appreciate. And so anyway, she's looking at the piano and he's standing up in the chair. One time his foot goes between the fold-up chair and down, so someone behind him have to help lift the little boy up. And she's saying, I'm sorry, once the music starts, he loves music. This is going to be my musician. My son is going to love this. He has it in his blood. I know he does. And so people are going like, why me? Why me? Why did I sit here? She's getting ready. The lights dim. The light on the piano comes up. And so she goes, this is going to be beautiful. You're going to love this. You're going to love the way he touches the piano. And she turns to look at the chair to speak to him in person. She says, you're gone. He's not there. The little boy has left his seat while she was watching the lights change. And she just catches a glimpse. He's already out the end of the row, up a set of stairs and through a backstage door. And she panics and she goes, oh no, down in front. She goes up and she goes out through the end. She gets to the aisle. She cuts across the other row, across the front. She's on like the second row of this concert hall, up the stairs. And people are thinking, what's wrong with this woman anyway? And where'd that little boy going? And no big deal. Any moment now, the grand master will walk out and he'll start to play. She gets through one door and by a stagehand who has one of those microphones, and he's going, wait, you got it. And she goes by him and back. And then suddenly she hears something that stops her in her tracks just for a moment. She hears the sound of a tune that takes her back to her own living room. It's a little boy. And she hears these fingers going, dun, 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 dun. oh no, it's chopsticks. And she's thinking to herself, there's no way the Grand Master has walked out on the stage and started his show with chopsticks. And that sounds amazingly like the notes that my own little boy hits and misses with chopsticks. Dun, 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 dun. She's going like, no, it couldn't be. And she starts to run out and think, and she sees him. And there in the spotlight, sitting up on the chair of this Bosendorfer, and he's going, boom, 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 boom. People are already starting to go, what is going on? And who's the child? And she hears a murmur in the crowd, and they're shifting in their chairs. And the stewards are wandering around, and ushers are coming up and saying, what is going on? She's getting ready to run out, and she suddenly, arm comes back and stops her and says, wait. The person doesn't even turn around. He's just looking like this. And he says, hold it, hold it. And she goes, no, that's my son. I've got to stop him. I've got to stop him. And he turns around and he looks at her and he says, wait. And she realizes she is face to face with the Grandmaster pianist. He says, let it go. Let it go. Let him be there. And she's about to burst into tears. She's thinking, oh, my husband is, no, my family, my neighborhood, the newspaper. I will never get over this. He says, got this. He turns and he walks out on stage. There's no applause like when he normally walks out on stage. There's no eruption of people saying, oh, applause, yeah. There's just this little boy playing. Dun, 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 dun. And they see this scene of this Grandmaster walking in behind the boy, and they're all saying to themselves, oh boy, this boy's going to get it now, the boy on the Bosendorfer. And then they see something very strange. The maestro leans down, and he reaches his hands around the little boy, and he says something to the little boy that the audience can't hear. But I know what he said. He said, don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop. Keep playing, boy. Keep playing. So the little boy goes, okay. Dun, dun, dun. And so dun 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 dun. Keep playing, boy. And the boy goes dun dun. And suddenly on this end of the piano, you hear that other piece. Yatta yatta da 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 da. And then the Bosendorfer, which is known for 97 keys, not just 88. 97 keys, not just 88, because the bass is so expanded. He hears the left hand go rum bum 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 bum, and suddenly it looks like this little boy is playing the best chopsticks in the entire world, and the audience starts to turn, and they start going, oh my gosh, this guy is brilliant. Whose child is this? This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen or heard. And he's going, don't stop, boy. Don't stop in his ear. And the little boy's going, and he sees the maestro's hands out of his peripheral vision start to move like this. His hands are getting bigger. And he's going, and the maestro is rolling both sides of the keyboard on both sides. And it is chopsticks like you've never heard chopsticks. He finishes and the audience erupts. They come to their feet and they're applauding like that. And he reaches down and he sticks out his hand, and the little boy shakes his hand, and he scoots the stool back and he helps the little boy and he nudges him toward his mom. And the little boy sees his mom and he runs and he hugs her right there in the wings, and the audience sees it and they erupt again. And he says to the boy, just as he sends him on his way, don't stop playing. Think you got the message? Hey, don't stop painting if art is in your heart. Paint to give away. Paint to share. Paint to connect to you. Paint because it's music to your soul. And that's my story today, and I'm sticking to it. Whew. Wow. Thank you for being an audience that listens to my stories, and thank you for being people who inspire other people with your work. Tell that to your kids, to your grandkids, to your friends, to your neighbors, to your church, to your community, wherever you tell stories. Tell them to not stop. Keep doing what you're doing that's good. There's enough that we're doing that's not good. Do the good things. Drink good tea. I've got some people I have to text right now, so I'm grabbing this. And thanks for loving the show. All right. Sharon Clark says, I'm on the edge of my seat. I was too, Karen. I didn't know where I was going to end that. With a bow tie and tails. Love this story. All right. Blessings to you all. I'm out of here. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Hey, I will show up here, Lord willing, 8:57, because I'm not going to stop. Hey, here's my little painting for today. Not too shabby. Even if I did just throw it down there with greens, one brush, a little water, and a pen. Wow, come on. Tell me you can't have fun with watercolor. Get out there and inspire somebody today.